From deep in the heart of Central Texas, it's the Best of the Outdoors podcast, brought to you by Texas Fish and Game Magazine, the voice of the Texas outdoor nation. I'm your humble host, Dustin Von Warnke, author, outdoor writer, videographer, speaker, blogger, podcaster. Man, am I excited that you're part of the show today. I am going to be doing another episode of Dustin's Mad Minutes and talking about, this is a solo show this time, talking about all kinds of things hunting and fishing related, especially fishing related in this episode, and really excited to be back with you. Hope everybody out there is doing well. Thank you so much again for subscribing to the podcast. Thank you so much for telling a friend. Thank you so much for sharing the good word about the best of the outdoors and telling people about the voice of the Texas outdoor nation, that they can download this show every 2 weeks. And we continually have awesome new content for you. And I'm really hoping to give you a lot of value for this podcast, because I just have so much to share. You know, I love doing this show every 2 weeks. This is a blessing for me to be able to get in front of this microphone, in front of my computer, and do this podcast every couple of weeks. I do them every week, but man, I edit, post-production, all that other stuff takes time, and one of these days I'll get there, I'm pretty sure. But in this episode, we're doing it every 2 weeks right now, and really enjoy having the chance to connect with you guys. I just rebuilt DustinsProjects.com. You can go check that out. I just relaunched it this past week, this past Monday I think it was, and did a little Facebook note on that. And really excited about that. That kind of is a whole portal of all of my different outdoor activities with Texas Fish and Game and Mag and Prowler and my own stuff, and just kind of all my hunting videos and blog and all that other stuff is linked up in there. So if you've not done so, head over to DustinsProjects.com. I have a newsletter you can sign up for. You get a free ebook that I wrote. It's kind of a compilation of some of my best articles over the years, and keep you informed of what's going on there. I also have a new online store that I'm getting ready to launch here. I'm in the preliminary stages of it still, for a client that I work for, and they have a retail store, kind of a retail store. They carry knives and stuff like that right now, and outdoor sporting goods stuff. But we're going to also do a neat online store for them, and I'm orchestrating that right now in the background. So always busy, always something going on, and forgive my dog barking in the background. This is in my home office, so you know how that goes sometimes. Anyway, really excited that you're taking the opportunity to join us, and I'm really excited about the opportunity I just had with the Delacroix, Louisiana folks, and Pelican Roost Lodge, as well as Louisiana Fishing Charters, and the Frontier Sales and Marketing Group. They hosted an event called the Confluence Riders Summit, and this thing was absolutely amazing. I wanted to dedicate a whole show to that, and then to another one of my passions. Obviously, Louisiana fishing is a lot of fun. There's a lot you can take from Louisiana fishing and use in Texas, but also wanted to bring up some of the sponsors for that event. And then also later in the show, we'll talk about jug fishing for catfish, which is another one of my passions. As I'm recording this, I always record these a week before they release, and I'm recording this before we leave. I take my son Jackson to Lake Conroe, and that's going to be a catfishing trip that we have for big blues, big blue cats and yellow cats and channel cats. We catch fish from 40 to 60 pounds there without breaking a sweat. It's crazy. So anyway, I've got a lot going on there, and I will bring you a podcast post that event to let you know. But bringing you this show because I was editing the Matt Williams show that we did previous to this podcast releasing at that Delacroix event in Louisiana, and I actually caught a flight to and from New Orleans and was driven in and out of the Delacroix area. It's not a huge town, not a whole lot going on there, but had a lot of fun meeting a lot of different companies, and I wanted to bring you some of the sponsors of that event to kind of talk to you about, you know, some of the things that you can do in the outdoors, some of the things that are possible, and some of the products that are valuable and of value, and you know, not the most expensive you're going to find on the market, but they really perform well. And I wanted to definitely talk about that today too. So jumping right in, the Confluence Rider Summit was back in mid-November, and I'm releasing this beginning of December. So it was a couple of weeks ago, and I really had a good time with Brad and Dennis, the guys that put the show together, this event. And we went out and had 3 sessions of fishing, 2 on one day and 1 on the other day. It was an awesome event. Basically, we did a morning trip and the afternoon trip on one day, and then the next day we did a morning trip that kind of bled into the afternoon, and all those were fun. We had a contest that EAA, European American Armory Corporation, was doing a shotgun giveaway for it's kind of a tournament for the most inches, total cumulative amount of inches at the end. And the gal from that owns Texas Saltwater Magazine, Pam, won that shotgun. So I missed it by about 24 inches because my fish weren't that big. So I didn't catch the big lunkers like I did at the Burris Media Bash that I did back this summer. But I mean, we really had a lot of fun. I got to really educate myself on a lot of different products, and that's my goal, is always to educate you in return for those the products that I see and tell you about them as a writer and a speaker and a podcaster and that kind of stuff that I do in the outdoor industry. So first night that we had kind of the showcasing of different products was the Flying Fisherman. These guys make some really cool sunglasses. They make neck gaiters or hoo-rags, whatever you want to call them. They've got a wide variety of those. They've got a wide variety of really cool sunglasses to protect your eyes, and they're very durable. And they range from about $20 to $70 from what I learned. I wear prescription sunglasses because I wear prescription glasses, but really enjoyed. My son even uses these glasses to put over his glasses because he wears prescription glasses, because my wife and I both wear glasses, and we knew eventually he'd inherit, the vision stuff. But he loves these sunglasses. I love these sunglasses. They're great. Very affordable, for a good pair of $20 to $70 sunglasses. They're really, really good. The Flying Fisherman, you can check those guys out. Also had Bubba Blade there, and I've got to tell you a story about Bubba Blade. I've been an electric fillet knife guy for a long time. If you know me and know this podcast, we've done a lot of shows around my fishing ministry, Crosswater Outfitters. I mentioned them, in a lot of different podcasts, and I'm the fish fillet captain of Crosswater Outfitters, okay? The first time that they saw me come to one of their events, this is way back 5 years ago in 2012, they basically said, hey, you want to come fillet fish? And I'm like, sure. So I brought my old fillet knife, my tournament angler, tournament choice, Academy fillet knife, and started filleting fish just like I knew what I was doing, because it had been years since I had filleted fish. And they were like, I don't know who that Dustin guy is, but man, can he cut some fish. And I was like, that's what I want written across my tombstone one day, I don't know who that Dustin dude is, but man, can he fillet some fish. So I've been a fillet knife guy for a long time. I use an American Angler typically because they're a little more expensive. They're about $50 or so. You can buy them on Amazon. And they typically go through, they have these things called shark blades, which are kind of recessed skeletons of a fillet knife, basically. It's like a skeleton blade. You can look it up, shark blade, on American Angler's website. And they've got a really interesting knife, and I really have always liked those fillet knives until I always had a friend at Crosswaters that would bring his Bubba Blade. And they've been around for a number of years now, but he'd always bring his Bubba Blade and sit there and just clean catfish like nobody's business, skinning them, right there, filleting them, skinning them, the whole 9 yards right there with his Bubba Blade. And he swore by that knife, and I didn't realize until I started using one, and I've used his before, and I was like, that's kind of cool, but I didn't realize how well they keep their edge until I got in the fish cleaning party at Delacroix, Louisiana, just south of New Orleans, for this event. And so I basically got to cutting some redfish with a 9-inch serrated blade, and would get to the rib bones and stuff like that, like butter, baby, like butter. It was great. And then I would do the finer work of the skinning and that kind of stuff with the Bubba Blade, just a regular tapered 7-inch. I've got to tell you, these knives hold their edge. I mean, there's something to be said. They're built as a saltwater fillet knife because there were so many knives that have let the inventor of this knife down. He wanted to make his own version of the fillet knife that was really, second to none. And I've got to say, I've used a lot of fillet knives. I own a lot of fillet knives, and then I own some electric fillet knives too. And our fishing ministry owns some too. But I've tried a lot of different ones out for electric. Like I said, I love American Angler, but for just standard fillet knife, I don't think it gets any better than a Bubba Blade. And I've used a lot of different blades on fish over the years, folks. So definitely, it's called the Ultimate Sportsman's Knives. They just recently got purchased by a big company that does a lot of other knives, like Uncle Henry. They do other knife companies, and and really have a lot of fun getting to know the guys from Bubba Blade that were there representing this company, and really enjoyed using one. And I'm going to get me some more Bubba Blades now that I know how good they are, and really a big fan of that fillet knife. So Daiwa was there. We had Daiwa rods, Daiwa reels. They have freshwater and saltwater versions of the reels, and fished with some of those over the week that week, and really enjoyed the smoothness of the casting, the smoothness of the reeling. You know, the whole process normally would wear me out on some of my old rods and reels was just seamless. You know, with a really high quality spinning reel, like a good opportunity to go after a good quality reel. You're looking anywhere from $79 on up for a good quality spinning reel. You can check out Daiwa reels at your local Academy Sports and Outdoor stores, and they've got really neat rods, really neat reels. I mean, the rods and reels that we fished with there that Daiwa brought to this event were really high quality, and I would definitely recommend you check their stuff out for sure. Also, Marmot makes the jackets and outerwear. I have a Marmot nice jacket for the evenings, especially here in November and December when it's kind of cool. It's more of a windbreaker. It's a very, very nice outerwear jacket. I really enjoy wearing it, and really enjoy having that around. I wear a lot of other jackets, and this is probably one of the lightest, but one of the best. I want to say insulated, but it keeps me really warm, but it doesn't feel heavy, and that's the thing I really look like as a big guy around jackets, because I don't want to be weighted down. And this Marmot jacket I really enjoyed having, and I received it at the event, and that was a lot of fun. Wanted to give a shout out to Louisiana Fishing Charters, because Randall and the guys that headed up this event were really, really nice to us. They really knew how to find the fish and where to find the fish. Some places we were going with these bay boats that they had were 18 inches of water, and trimming the motor up and just praying that you don't get stuck. And one of the boats got stuck. It was kind of funny, but it was really a good opportunity to meet with a couple of fishing guys that really knew their stuff. I got to go out with 3 different guys, 3 different trips, twice in one day and one in the next, and really got on some good redfish. Now, I've got 3 different videos that came out of this trip that are on my GoPro, so you don't see an introduction, you just see straight fishing action. And I'm going to have those up on my YouTube channel soon. If you're not subscribed, and you're not subscribed with notifications on my YouTube channel, please do so. It's youtube.com. I think it's /DWarnke, DWARNCKE. Basically my YouTube channel is Dustin Warnke, WARNCKE. If you just type that into YouTube, you'll find me holding a big catfish, and that is my YouTube channel. I actually have 2 YouTube channels, but the one with all my videos, most of my videos, is going to be Dustin Warnke with holding the big catfish with the lake behind me. And I'm going to put those up probably in the next couple of weeks. I just need to get them reviewed by the Texas Fish and Game folks and make sure that is good to go. And really enjoyed my time with these guys. I mainly got pictures of other people catching fish, and got video of other people catching fish as well. But really overall a great opportunity to get out there and really learned a lot about boat maintenance. I learned a lot about just general things that come to mind when you're fishing, especially out in the marsh where it's brackish water. We were catching largemouth bass. We were catching redfish, rat reds, small redfish, bull reds, big redfish. We caught a speckled trout or 2 as well, threw those in the box. And the funny thing with Louisiana and their game laws, and I talked about this in the Running of the Bulls podcast, they're pretty loose when it comes, and pretty liberal, I should say, when it comes to the amount of fish that you keep. Is pretty liberal, and also the amount of fish and how you take those fish. You can bowfish for redfish. I think it's one of the only states in the nation that you can bowfish for redfish. But you can keep certain redfish, certain size. I think it's 27 inches or more. You get to keep 1, and then you get to keep up to 4 or 5 total per person if it's underneath 27 inches with their law. And we mainly kept the small ones to eat, and we had a fantastic 5-star restaurant that we went to and had a 5-course meal there. James Beard award-winning restaurant, and really had a lot of fun hanging out with those guys. And that was the last night that we were there, and they actually cooked the redfish that we caught that day. And the day before that, we had redfish dip, The Pelican Roost Lodge made us redfish coupillon, which if you've never had redfish coupillon, it's kind of like a fish covered in a tomato sauce, and there's a lot of ways that you can do it wrong. And it was myself from Texas Fish and Game waving the colors there. It was the Louisiana Sportsman guys that were there, and those are Cajuns upon Cajuns right there. And then it was the guys from the Texas Saltwater Fishing Magazine, Pam and Everett, that were there. And really, it was just really 3 magazines, so it was a relatively small event with all of us. But, it was interesting to see the way that they, the Cajuns there appreciated Cajun food. If you know Cajun food well, and I'll get off on a tangent here, so forgive me, Cajun food's not designed to be hot when it's really authentic Cajun food. It's designed to be flavorful. So that's the one thing I learned about food in Cajun world, is that it's not always designed to be hot and, caliente, for lack of a better word, just extremely, spicy. It's supposed to, be a flavorful and have that zest to it, but not necessarily to be so spicy. And I didn't really understand Cajun food to that level before. But between the restaurant that we ate at, that was called Patois, and that's what we had that night of the last night we were there, Thursday night we were there, and then we left on a Friday. That was just incredible. And we had a redfish coupillon at the Pelican Roost Lodge, and then we had redfishes with pork belly for the food that we had as a main course, and then we had redfish dip, like redfish. What would you call it? Redfish. Redfish dip, basically. The night that we had the dinner, and I mean, it was fantastic. So I mean, there's nothing like fresh fish, but I mean, when it is used in fantastic recipes, when it is used by award-winning chefs, when it is used by award-winning lodges and stuff like that, it just doesn't get any better than freshness mixed with great culinary arts, and that's what we really experienced here at this event. So moving right along on the sponsors of this event, I wanted to also talk about the Boomerang Tool Company. They make some line snips and a bunch of other different tools and that kind of stuff, the Boomerang Tool Company. But they make a wide variety of different tools that are very usable in the world of fishing. And like I say, we got 3 different types of line snips that they actually imprinted the Texas Fish and Game logo on, and I just got back from dropping those off to Artie and Roy, the owners of the magazine, so they can check those out and possibly order some more. But they really had some really great tools and things that you would use when you're fishing. As far as those kind of products go, these particular snips, the line snips that they had, will actually clip onto your belt, and they have a lanyard, like you're using a lanyard that's retractable. So basically, you expand it or retract it as you need it, just like you would pliers or anything else. To cut your line, and they retract back on your belt or your pocket or wherever you have them clipped. So that's really cool. I really enjoyed hanging out and seeing some of that stuff. Also, I can't forget to mention Z-Man. Z-Man, the science and art of fishing. Z-Man lures and soft plastics. Man, they sponsored our event that we did back in for the Burris Media Bash. They sponsored that event, and I got to meet Daniel Nussbaum, who's one of the head people, and then Jonathan Zucker, who's one of the guys that is the actual Head Swiss Cheese president of the board of all the different Z companies that I forget what the parent company's called, but got to fish with them a little bit and got to learn some more about their products. Man, if you've ever wanted a bag of soft plastics to last you the entire year, they have minnows, they have shrimp, they have plastic trout tricks, which are kind of the plastic trout soft plastics, and for speckled trout, and they just have a wide variety of different baits. And we were fishing with one of their new colors called the iguana daiquiri, and that goes back to the Burris, Louisiana iguana daiquiri place that I forgot to mention of the last podcast. Literally a wall of daiquiris when you walk in. It was a bar, they had a drive-through, and it was all daiquiris all the time. And just had a wall full of daiquiris and little daiquiri machines. You basically would go in there and get what you wanted and go out there, and it was just neat. I just thought it was an amazing event, that event was. But they came up with a color, and I don't know how they came up with this, but they called it the iguana daiquiri in memory of that place, or in honor of that place, I should say. And it's kind of like a pink and green, a pink and chartreuse kind of color. it's really a neat color, and you can check those out at your local sporting goods stores or online at Z-Man's website. And I really, really enjoyed hanging out with those guys, and caught a couple of nice redfish with the iguana daiquiri colors. So that's definitely a winner. So also wanted to mention Arctic Ice. Met the guy, one of the partners of this company, and what this basically is, it's kind of like, the old school ice packs that you get, but these are kind of a hard container that contains a chemical in it that basically keeps your food colder longer. And the nice thing that I like about this is you don't have to use so much ice. As sportsmen, we all go through a lot of ice, and I know I certainly do. And to keep your food cold, they have 3 different types of products for keeping your food frozen, keeping your food extra cold, or just generally cold. And whether you're drinking beer or soda or water or whatever, having cold drinks is such a big important thing. Keeping your fish and your game nice and cool is important as well. So we used those in our coolers while we were hanging around fishing this last couple of weeks. And I'm really a fan because they don't leak. They don't have bad, runoff like you do with ice. They keep your stuff colder longer. They keep ice longer. So especially if you use a Yeti or any kind of extreme ice chest, I use a Frio. I bought my dad a South Jetty cooler. They're another, extreme ice chest brand. All of them claim that they can keep your ice colder longer, and I've been a part of tests and all kinds of different things that test, if the ice stays colder longer in this one or not. This product, though, Arctic Ice, is relatively affordable. It's durable. It's got a dang near indestructible, unless you really poke it with something, or prod it with something that's sharp. It's going to last for years and years and not fail on you, because it's got a really strong dexterity to it. It's a really, really cool thing. So, and I just like the idea of keeping my stuff colder longer, not having to go through as much ice. You have to pay for it. You got to buy it by the bag. I mean, not all of us have ice machines and that kind of stuff where we can just get as much ice as we want, but this keeps things drier and cleaner and everything like that longer. I especially bring up Arctic Ice when it comes to hunting, because one of the things that I kind of got chastised for on my last hunting trip was quartering deer, because it's been so darn hot here in Texas. It's been about, upper 80s degrees in some parts of early November. And then, we're down in the 40s right now, but the high is still in the 70s. So it's not really a good time of the year to hang your deer. Unless it starts getting down in the 30s and 40s, jacket weather, for sure is when you really do that. So these Arctic Ice packs really pack a punch when it comes to keeping your ice, keeping you away from having to use a lot of ice. Because what you want to do, and what I got chastised from, getting back to that, at the event that I was at back in, not an event, but I went hunting beginning part of November. And, you're not supposed to let your ice, your game meat, your pig or your deer or whatever soak in water. You're not supposed to let it soak in ice water. You're supposed to keep that water drained. And if you go to any restaurant and whatnot, it's all about dry aging or dry curing, or keeping the meat dry until you get it to a processor, until you get to the final processing of that meat. This product really helps out well with keeping that kind of stuff in check, with keeping something cool and cold without keeping it wet, and there's going to be some condensation, but it's not like going to be soaking in ice water. If you put some, and I talked to the owner of this company, one of the owners, and he puts a layer below, like, the base of the ice chest, puts the meat in, and then he takes the meat and puts the meat in, and then does another layer up top. So basically it's sandwiched in by these Arctic Ice packs. And really a fan of them. You can check out their website. Just Google Arctic Ice, and make sure you spell it correctly, because I did not. Arctice, Arctic Ice. So Arctic Ice is the way it's supposed to be spelled. I was looking up online, and I was just typing in Arctic, and I'm like, it's not coming up for me. And I missed. There's 2 C's in Arctic, so that's what I'm trying to say. Also ran into Spro. They make a lot of really cool baits, especially for freshwater, and bass baits and those kind of things, topwater frogs, so many different things, crankbaits, lipless, square bills, rattle baits. I mean, all kinds of different stuff I walked away from that event with, and really was educated. SPRO stands for Sports Professionals. You can check those guys out. I'll have links to all this in the show notes. And connected with SPRO is also Gamakatsu, and obviously it's a hook company. A lot of lures carry Gamakatsu hooks. They're really popular. They're really neat hooks, and they have a lot of really cool types of hooks. The last fishing podcast that I did by myself was the Running of the Bulls. We talked about Mustad having these weighted belly hooks that you use for swim baits, and really Gamakatsu has hooks like this too. What I really like about these hooks is they have a lead belly to them, or basically it's hard to explain on a podcast, but they have basically a weighted part of the shank of the hook, and so that kind of puts the belly of the swim bait down, and it allows you to swim that swim bait better. Especially compared with a Z-Man soft plastic like a minnow. Fantastic for a swim bait, and it's weighted and ready to cast out and everything like that. You don't have to add any weight to it. It's a hook with a weight already built into the bottom of it, so you can swim your swim baits a little bit easier. And like I say, Z-Man, I've got to say, soft plastics, they last forever. They don't last forever, but they last a lot longer than a lot of the soft plastics that I've encountered, where the bass will bite a tail off of it, or the bass will bite bite it in half, or whatever the case may be. We were catching fish, and fish are just rough on these baits, and it was not tearing up the bait at all. They have this thing called Elastec technology, and it's really, you can stretch one out to 2 feet and let it go, and it'll come back to its original form. I mean, the Z-Man stuff is great. So Gamakatsu hooks with Z-Man baits, hard to beat. Those weighted hooks for the swim bait are really cool, and there's a lot of really cool things Gamakatsu makes. Circle hooks, Kale hooks. I'll talk more about that a little bit later in the show when I talk about jug fishing, but really have a lot of fun fishing with Gamakatsu stuff, and then SPRO lures as well. And then last but not least on my list is the Habo brand. I got to hang out with those guys for a while. That's a clothing brand, very similar to a lot of clothing brands on the market today that have a lot of really neat designs in their clothes, the way that they do their lettering and their logos and that kind of stuff built into the fabric. I really enjoy it. I'm wearing one of their shirts right now. It's a blue long sleeve button-down shirt, and it's really a comfortable shirt. I really enjoy wearing it. It's a lot of fun to go fishing in, and this is almost as nice as a dress shirt. So I wore it to church the other day, and wear it to Thanksgiving, and I just wear it all the time. I love this shirt. So they make that. They've got a hooded pullover performance t-shirt. Not a t-shirt, but it's a performance fishing shirt, long sleeves, kind of a hoodie, but it's not really a sweatshirt or a jacket hoodie. It's basically just a long sleeve shirt with a performance fishing shirt with a hood on it. So it's kind of cool. And definitely wanted to give a shout out to Marine Metal Products as well. They were part of the event. Had some stuff there, and I just can't say thank you enough to Jeff and Dennis. I'm sorry, not Jeff, Brad and Dennis, forgive me, for putting this event on, and for Frontier Sales and Marketing for hosting the event. And Pelican's Roost Lodge is actually a big barge, and the sleeping quarters and everything like that, and restrooms and showers and everything like that are on it. It's connected to land. I mean, obviously it's not it's a floating barge, but it's basically connected to land, and it is owned by a guy that's got a lot of good taste. It's for certain, because they're the kitchen, the galley, the tables, everything was done in Cyprus. There was a big screen TV in there. There's a library. I mean, there's a little bit of everything. I'll try to post a picture in the show notes, but it was just an incredible lodging experience, and the food was absolutely amazing. I mean, I say that some people say I'm easily amused, right? Some people say that I get excited easily. Now, that may be true, but I know good food when I see it, and I've eaten a lot of lodges and stuff like that where the food's subpar. This was absolutely incredible. So big shout out to the Pelican's Roost Lodge for that, and enjoyed the guys allowed me to clean some fish with those bevel blades. So I was really excited about that because nobody else was jumping in there to do it. So I was like, let me roll up my sleeves and get out here and clean some fish. So I really enjoy cleaning fish though. So as weird as that sounds, but I'll talk about that some more in a minute. So big thank you all to the Confluence Rider Summit event for the guys that were a part of it, and just big shout out to all the sponsors that made that possible. And I wanted to definitely give a shout out to some of those companies that made that show possible, made that event possible rather. And really, like I say, I've got the videos. The video will have sponsors, all the sponsors of the event, and in a spreadsheet that I built, not a spreadsheet, like a collage of different sponsor logos that I built for the video. So you get to see that. So moving right along, I wanted to talk a little bit about jug fishing for catfish, because it is that time of year for my fishing ministry. We engage in early December, typically middle of January, but this year I don't know if I'm going to make it because our events are always when I leave for SHOT Show, so that's kind of a pain. But anyway, I'm looking forward to the event this weekend that I'm recording this show, and I'll give you a report at the next show of how we did. We typically pull in 40 to 60 pound blue cats without breaking a sweat every single trip we make, and I've done this, I want to say it's about 4 years in a row now that I've done the December Conroe trip that we do on Lake Conroe, where the Bassmaster Classic was held this year, as a matter of fact. What a small world. But that place is loaded full of big catfish, and we never keep the big ones. A lot of them are egg-laden females, so we let them go, and we let them spawn and do their thing. They're the matriarchs and patriarchs that make all the big fishing possible and all the little fishing possible. So I wanted to definitely disclose that when I talk about catching 40 to 60 pound catfish. They're not that good to eat that big anyway. You got to make little catfish nuggets out of all of them. If they're dying or on death's door, we typically, take those catfish and make use of them. But as far as keeping them to eat, we only keep the little ones that are maybe 10 pounds or less, and let the ones that are 20 pounds or over go. We'll catch some yellow cats, we'll catch some channel cats, eater size, but we typically at these events that we do in the winter, let those big boys go, because they're just a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun to catch again over and over again. So basically the precept of jug fishing is you have a pool noodle jug. That's what we use. A guy by the name of Mudcat, he lives on Lake Conroe or around Lake Conroe, and he makes flagging jugs. So what this is basically is a piece of PVC pipe that goes through the middle of a pool noodle, which is usually white. And inside that PVC pipe is a piece of rebar or a egg sinker or something like that basically slides to the top or slides to the bottom when you hold it, to the top or the bottom. And basically what it does is you lay your jug sideways, you lay your jug flat on the water, and then when a fish hits it or a fish strikes at the bait underneath it, it flags the jug up, turning the jug up and down instead of left and right sideways. It turns the jug up and down, the jug tilts, and the piece of weight or rebar or whatever's in the middle of the inside of the plastic goes from one end to the other, and it flags. So that's why we call those flagging jugs. They're Mudcat flagging jugs. You can look those up on the internet pretty easily. I like to use mustad or Gamakatsu hooks, circle hooks, or kale hooks. We basically put 3 or so. You can do up to 5, I think, with the state of Texas, but we put 3 lines coming off of that main line for that jug. It's really strong trot line style line that we use. So it's really good stuff. And what you use is the same things you use to make a trot line. You can buy a trot line kit at the store and make these jugs yourself. I even saw Academy has some jugs available that you can purchase with the PVC in it, and you can get those and then rig them up with three hooks. I don't recommend more than 3 hooks because you can get a hook through a finger real easily. You can get a hook through your leg, through your arm, whatever, easily when you have more than 3 hooks to keep up with. And it's a very communal sport. The reason I say that is because the people that go through and do it typically like to bring a team with them, and they don't like to do it alone. It's a community sport. So typically, if you have 3 people in a boat and a driver, you typically have one person responsible for each hook. You cut up some cut shad, or we'll talk some more about bait here in just a minute, and you basically just bait those lines, throw it out there, put your jug sideways in the water, and when that fish hits it, it goes up and down. It flags, and that's how you know you caught a fish. Typically, this is the time of year we like to fish for this. This time in the springtime, we do crosswater events in March, October, December, January, and those are kind of the main months we do that. If you do it during the hot months where it's really blooming hot outside, the fish can die because they're not in the thermocline where they feel comfortable, and they run out of oxygen and they just die. That's kind of the way that works. So if you have an issue with with not it's too cold or whatever, we try to go when it's pleasant. It's going to be really pleasant this weekend, but try not to go when it's too ridiculously cold. But the catfish love the cold at Lake Conroe for sure, and then that's where we catch the really big ones. And then the smaller catfish we catch on Lake Belton. We fish Lake Buchanan, some big ones on Lake Buchanan too, I must say. And then we typically fish this Lake Conroe in East Texas. So 2 events typically there. In Belton, that's where the ministry is based. It's run by Hope for the Hungry, which is a parent ministry to a lot of different ministries that spin off from it. So there's that. 2 events in Belton, 1 event in Conroe, 1 event on LBJ or Buchanan, usually a year, sometimes 2, and then 1 event, like I said, in Conroe. So we stay busy year round, basically preparing for these things because a lot of work goes into it. But the basics of jug fishing are really simple. You just have a pool noodle with a PVC pipe, you have your line, and you have a weight. And typically the way we use weight for a jug line is wrapping around and tying off a 1-pound dumbbell from Academy. And usually the only colors that you can find sometime are pink or purple. So you kind of have to be resourceful there if they're different colors. And there's nothing wrong with a pink barbell you can use for a weight. You can obviously use a sinker or anything like that, but you want something that's at least about a pound that'll weigh it down real well, maybe 2 pounds. And you basically set out your jugs. I try to set them between 12 feet and 24 feet on a lot of cases. River channels and that kind of stuff are the best places for them. You want to try to lay in the river channel, lay your jugs in the river channel if possible, if it's on a big main lake area. But close to shore, drop-offs, those kind of things are not bad places to get catfish as well. So you have a lot of fun, in a lot of different ways doing it's more of a community sport than anything, like I said before. We like to use cut shad, and like I said, I get back to bait here. The bait I'm getting ready to use for Conroe, because we don't have any shad on the boat that I'm on this weekend, is I'm going to do hot dogs. I get Bar S. The most expensive hot dogs are 99 cents a piece. No, I'm just kidding. They're not very expensive. They're 99 cents for a pack of, I think, 6 of them. And you basically cut those up, and I like to soak them in Kool-Aid. I've got fruit punch Kool-Aid this week, and then I've got some garlic. And that may sound like a gross combination, but the catfish love it. And so that's what we're going to do for catching some eating size ones. And then we're going to bring our cast net out there and hopefully catch some catfish off a cut shad. Cut shad is what the big ones like. I know that for a fact. Now, the one thing on Lake Conroe for sure is that a lot of the old timers there, like Mudcat, like to use beef hearts. They stick on a lot better they're more like a steak consistency, and they stick on a lot better as a tough muscle of a byproduct of a pig or a deer or a cow. You basically cut that up, and I like to soak it in something. You can even use anise. If I have some, I probably will throw it in my concoction tonight, because that's a good attractor for anise. You use anise for cooking cookies and that kind of stuff. It's kind of an old spice, or old cooking additive. But, I like to use garlic. I like to soak that in, soak those hot dogs in garlic. I like to soak those hot dogs along in, some water and mix together some dry Kool-Aid mix. And man, it's just a lot of fun catching them that way. You can usually catch sometimes 3 to a jug. Most of the time you catch 1 to a jug. And it really just depends on how the fish are biting. The nice thing about the jug, the way that it's set up, is you have 3 different heights. So, if you're catching them on a hook number 1, they're high. If you want to catch them on hook number 3, they're low. If you catch them on hook number 2, they're in the middle. So it's a really simple way, and it's a good way to catch a lot of fish. A lot of guys say, I want to have a fish fry, and I want to go catch a lot of fish in a short amount of time. Jug fishing is the way to do it. Hard to beat catfish as far as table fare goes, and we have fish fries every time we do one of these Crosswater Outfitter events. And my goodness, man, I can't begin to tell you, the amount of fish that we catch and clean. I mean, with maybe 20 of us there out of an entire weekend, we may clean 200 to 300 fish. I mean, but that's considering everybody, is participating, and everybody takes fish home. Nothing goes to waste, so on and so forth. So really a lot of fun jug fishing. Those are the basic steps of them. Basically, you have your pool noodle and your floating PVC. You have your line, you have your weight at the bottom, you have your 3 hooks in the middle, and you basically you can look up online Mudcat flagging jugs to go buy your own, because it's cheaper even to buy from him. And that's just the way what we found in the life with buying our own stuff and making our own stuff. It's basically cheaper to buy them already made. So if you can find flagging jugs somewhere, especially from Mudcat's website, Mudcat flagging jugs, but they're cheaper to buy already fixed for you. And I think he sells a dozen for, I forget how much, but he usually sells them a dozen or half a dozen at a time. And it's always good to buy one, because you may lose one, you may one may get drug away by a big fish and never see it again, and that kind of stuff. You always want to have backups. It's always some good advice to have. So that is all for this day's podcast, and I want to thank you so much again for tuning in. We're at about 40 plus minutes right now, so I'm not going to make this long as we typically go an hour to 45 minutes to an hour, so we'll probably be right at the 45-minute mark or so today. Really excited that you took the opportunity to download the show, to stream it online, however you're listening. Please subscribe to the podcast or your favorite podcast player, whether that's iTunes, RSS Radio is the one that I use, or any podcast listening device that you have out there as far as your phone app goes. You can download us and take us on the road with you, or take us to the gym with you, or take us out walking your dog, or doing your yard, or whatever. We're just happy to be along for the ride, man. So if you've not done so already, please subscribe to our magazine. It is pretty inexpensive to subscribe for a year or 2. We were having a Black Friday sale here right after Black Friday, and there's really some good opportunities there to hang out and read the magazine every month as it comes out. Also, please be sure to subscribe to our newsletters. You can do that at fishgame.com. That's fishgame.com. That is really easy. We have the Tuesday Tactical and Practical, Wednesday Wildlife Wednesday, and Thursday Texas State of the Outdoor Nation, which is really a good newsletter that kind of combines everything from the previous 2. So really looking forward to that and bringing more sponsors above. Also, I wanted to also mention that we're going to do a bit of a format change around SHOT Show, and we've got one more episode between here and SHOT Show. Actually, maybe 2 more episodes between here and SHOT Show. What we're going to do is do some little 10-minute, maybe a little bit longer podcasts at SHOT Show. I'm going to buy a new microphone so I don't have to load my whole podcast studio along with me to go to Vegas. But basically, we're going to show up there and do some quote-unquote live podcast broadcasts. Daily summaries of what we find at SHOT. Chester's going to be there with me, and we're going to basically knock out a few shows that way, and that'll kind of give you your dose of what we see at SHOT Show of interest to you, the hook and bullet crowd out there for fishing and hunting. And I really look forward to doing that. So thank you so much again for watching, reading, and listening, and have an awesome day in the outdoors. We'll see you next time.